When should the dungeon master kill the entire party? Welcome to my channel. I focus on tabletop role-playing games, video games, and science fiction. When should a dungeon master kill the entire party? Well, I can think of one interesting reason why you would plan to do that. If you have some life event that is going to stop you or prohibit you from continuing the adventure and you want to wrap it up somewhat, shall we say, cleanly, and you know that they're not going to achieve their quest or whatever. For example, if you were you've just got a brand new job, but you're going to have to move across country and so on, and so your average group, you've just sort of decided, okay, I'm going to spring it on them in an interesting way. I'm going to kill everybody in the party and tell them, by the way, oh, we're not gaming anymore because I'm moving. That would be one way. I've also seen where someone has, as their first child approached, they decided, all right, this is going to be, shall we say, somewhat challenging, and life events are pulling me away from that. That's a way to give a finality to an adventure and end it where people may or may not be too upset, but the fact that they can't be upset at you because you were going through things that are going to distract you from the weekly planning of the game. So those are sort of interesting reasons that I think are totally legitimate, that have nothing to do with the game. Should you ever kill characters or kill a party because they go totally off book? Well, first off, I don't believe in believing on book. I always think that characters or DMs should be playing, shall we say, off book. That there is no that you should be designing your own adventures and you should be able to handle anything the party throws at you. That's what makes the game so interesting. If you're totally on book, what's really the difference from that in a video game? I mean, video games are totally programmed, whereas the advantage of role-playing games is that you can go off book and do unusual and different things. So that's my view, is that you shouldn't be restricting players to be on book because of things like that. Now, I've total party killed as both a player and as a character. Yes, I have killed the entire party as a player, and I have killed the entire party many times as a DM. I actually created a dungeon called Hellwell. And I have a series of things where I started to go through some of the rooms of Hellwell that is designed to kill entire parties with no remorse. You're not supposed to go into Hellwell. Why do parties go into Hellwell? Because it's someplace they haven't been. It's the challenge. It's like, why do you climb Mount Everest or climb K2 or whatever? Because you want to be someone who can say that they've done that, and that Hellwell was a place that players wanted to be able to say, yes, I've been into Hellwell, and I actually managed to get out with some treasure. And normally they'd get out with a few coins, not many, things like that. But is that a reason to kill the party? Now, I'm also the other one. I called myself the most Monty Hall of all dungeon masters, and I say that sort of hanging my head in shame. I created something, it was called the Hall of Lights, and I never expected characters to end up down there. It was on the 13th level of the dungeon, which says a lot about what you'd expect. You're down 13 levels in the dungeon. It's one of my mega dungeons, and they're going through there, and the character's by himself at this point in time, going down this hallway, and he decides to run down this hallway. And mind you, he is saving every 60 feet that he runs down the hallway. He has to do a save versus insanity. And the saves get progressively harder. And he is rolling amazingly. gets down to there, and the farther you go down the Hall of Lights, the more gems you find. And he finds a billion gold piece gem. He can fit 2 of them in his backpack. He empties everything else out and loads up 2 1,000 gold piece gems. Turns around and runs back out and manages to save all the way. Every time he saved. An amazing set of saving rolls, and comes out of the dungeon with 2 billion in 2 gems. Now, this was an interesting adventure. Everybody else got killed, and I didn't intend for that, but they got greedy and did strange things. They'd found the machine of Lum the Mad. I think I'd mentioned that, and but they had been robbed, so they didn't have anything, so they're throwing people in the machine, which is a terrible thing to do, and people died. But the character manages to get out of the dungeon with 2 billion in gold pieces, 2 gems of gold pieces. Gems. I didn't kill the party, but they mainly died. But now here I've got this character who is so overpowered. He went through and tried to get a gem cutter to cut. Nobody could buy them. They're worth more than the kingdom. And so he took a mace, put the gems in a backpack, and took a mace to the backpack to break them up, to get them into shards of gems that were large enough, small enough that he could spend. But it was hilarious. So I've done some strange things as a DM, but that's why I say you always take advice from other people, particularly about how to run your game. Manage it yourself. Don't get upset. People have opinions, and make the decision yourself. If you're having fun, what's the harm? And that's the key. Whatever they're doing, it's that. And if you want to talk to your players, fine. Actually, I wouldn't even bother talking to the players. If you're doing something that's fun, why are you changing it? That's my question. Now, he said Taking 20 said he invested a bunch of money in that. Well, okay, so what? There's always more time to game. Maybe. Let me put that as someone who is, shall we say, survived stage 4 colon cancer. Yes. So I thought I was not going to survive, and I apparently am going to be one of the 9% that survive, because I've had 2 clean checkups, which is only 9% ever do. But I've always planned for the future. You can always run that a game again where people are more on book, or you've got your notes of how to run it off book. So why are you so upset with it that people are not on book? You say you've invested a bunch of money. Have you enjoyed it? Have you got your money's worth? That's sort of the question that I ask. I buy a whole bunch of books. I have them up on the shelves. I bought games that I've never played, but I've enjoyed reading through them and doing the analysis of them and something like that. Have you had fun with them? There are games I bought which I regret buying because they're not what I expected, or they're not what I want, or after a single play they just didn't leave the taste in my mouth that I wanted, shall we say, and so I got rid of them. But if you've got something that you're enjoying and playing, why change it? You're enjoying it. You're having fun. It's set up the framework for your adventures. So just sit back, enjoy, and have fun as the dungeon master running through an adventure which is, shall we say, off book. Who cares what your player... Why do you want to lead the players back this way? I just keep throwing hints at them that these are things that they can do. What it sounds like is that you're making your adventures to your players have been more interesting than the books. And I take that as a great compliment. The books are usually well written. So you've created something that is more interesting than the books, and your players want to go after the more interesting, the shinier bauble than what the book is offering. So why do you want to change that? Because you're now using the framework that's established by the books to make something more interesting and more exciting. it makes me think of the interesting forward. If you haven't ever read it, the Princess Bride, get the book and read the first introduction to the Princess Bride. And it talks about why he wanted to do an abridgment and so on, and why it's abridged. That is hilarious. It's all fantasy, but it's hilarious, but it tells you what you're doing right. And that, I think, is the companion to what Taking 20 was doing. He was creating an adventure that his players found more interesting than the books. So why does he want to change it? If you're having fun, have fun. You know, that's the goal of this hobby, is to have fun. People are taking this way too serious. This is a hobby. This is what you do. If you're professional and you're writing this to make a living, okay. That's a different story where you want to take it fun. But still, it should be fun. That's the reason you get... This is a hobby. It is not life and death. It is not, you know, what the most important thing in the world. This is just to have fun. And that's the key. Have fun. And if you're having fun and your players are having fun, you're having a grand old time, who cares if you're on book? And honestly, I hate to say this, but who cares if you spend a bunch of money? If it set up the framework for you to have a lot of fun, do it. This was the comparison I said to the way I got into gaming. A lot of people found that, yes, they could go out and go get drunk and party and carouse, or they could take that same amount of money and spend it on games and have something that lasted a much longer time. So think about this. Take all the money that you've to Taking 20. Total up all the money that you had spent on your adventures. Figure out how much it would cost you if you went out partying, or took your wife or your girlfriend or whatever, your boyfriend or whatever. You took it out and you went to the bars and had nice dinner and maybe dancing, whatever. How much would that cost you versus how much fun you've had with this game? And see which was the better investment. And I think the books were probably the better investment for you. It's just my opinion, but like I said, everybody has opinions. So do that. So if it made it fun, have fun. This hobby is designed around people laughing and enjoying themselves, and you have to have a sense of humor about it, and don't take things so seriously. Thank you for watching. I look forward to learning what you think about this video. Let me know in the comments below. I appreciate all your comments. If you like the video, give it a thumbs up. If you don't like the video, give me a thumbs down. I appreciate both forms of feedback. If you're new here and would like to subscribe, you can click on the icon on the left. If you're interested, there's more content on the right.